One of my favorite party tricks, and I would say it's my superpower, is being able to remember passwords, even the most like difficult passwords. I can remember it by looking at it once. And I actually did this the other week and people were so impressed by it. But it's purely because I am able to have photographic memory. And no, I was not born with photographic memory. I actually trained myself to do this. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how you can boost or improve your memory with starting from today within a short amount of time, but all you need is to be consistent, and also how you are able to do other things other than just using your photographic memory. And this is supposed to help you with your studies and also everything in your day-to-day life, as it did for me. So welcome back to my channel, guys. I'm so happy to have you guys here, and if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. Today we're going to be talking about how to improve your memory, how to get photographic memory, what myths there are, do brain games actually work. I've spent a lot of time not really researching but trying it out with myself, and I'm going to tell you everything that worked for me. Do take it with a grain of salt because I do not have any scientific background to what I've done to myself, but I'm just talking about what actually did work. So I used to be the person who would literally forget everything. Like, I literally would have my phone in my hand and would go all up and down the house searching for my phone when it's actually in my hand. And no, I was not tired during that time. I was not distracted or anything. I literally was just that forgetful. I don't remember anything to do with like what I studied that day, what I even ate that day. Like, my memory was so bad. But after learning about this book, it's called Famous 5 Survival Guide. I literally saw this book and I begged my parents to get it for me because I had this phase when I was younger where I was obsessed with like adventure books. And I got this book, and inside this book there was a guide on how to train your photographic memory. Now, before we start, I want to say that photographic memory is such a controversial topic. I know that. I know a lot of people say that there is no such thing as photographic memory and things like that. While there aren't any research that proves photographic memory, there's also no research that disproves photographic memory as well. So some people will say they have photographic memory, and I will say that I do have photographic memory as well. But if you'd like, I can call it as enhanced visual memory. So with my visual memory, I am able to literally walk through buildings, walk through the house and things like that in my head as if I was actually there. Like, I literally could imagine everything and draw it out in my head and walk through it as if I was actually there. And this is one of the ways that I basically help myself to discover where things are in the house. Like, for example, if my boyfriend calls me, he's like, I can't find my keys anywhere, then I'd be like, check your drawer on the left side of the room, but like on the floor next to the right leg. I would literally be like that, and he'd be like, oh dang, how did you know? And I'd be like, I don't know, I just saw it once and I remembered it. And this happened as well with like passwords. Like I said before, I could read out passwords and remember it in my head, but a lot of the times it's short term, and it's kind of like a pick and choose kind of thing. I can choose which ones I want to keep in my short-term memory, and I can choose which one I want to keep in my long-term memory. So yeah, superpower, like I said. I did put everything into this notebook because I didn't want to go rambling on for hours about this, because I am quite passionate about it. I do find it quite interesting. So I did write it down so that we can talk about it together. So first things first, my credentials. I feel like you guys won't believe anything I say if I don't tell you guys my credentials. So I'm a chemical engineering master's student, and it's been very helpful to have a photographic memory, or sorry, enhanced visual memory when you're doing an engineering degree, because a lot of the times I need to remember formulas, remember diagrams, remember scripts for my presentations, things like that. And just being able to remember all of that and see it in my head as if I was reading my notes has been super helpful, which is why my average is 85% in university. So to start off with, let's start by understanding what memory actually is. So there's a little piece of our brain that's called the hippocampus, and this is basically the part that like distributes the memory into the rest of our brain and stores it as well. And that's where you have short-term memory and long-term memory. The hippocampus basically controls where it goes. Is it going to go to the short term? Is it going to go to the long term? Now, how I imagine it is basically like there's the mind palace. You have parts in your brain, kind of like a palace with a lot of rooms, where each room has different things and you can store different things in it. That's the same with like your mind palace in your brain, where you can store certain information in them. Now, this information, you can keep it for a long time. Like, for example, if you wanted to store a box of your old pictures from when you were younger, you can store that for a really long time. But if it was trash, then you wouldn't want to store that for a really long time, so you can just throw it away. And that's exactly the same with what the hippocampus does and how it is stored in our brain. Now, the hippocampus doesn't only store information in our brain, it's also the one that recalls the information when we need it. Now, the memory isn't like one simple process, and that's why building your memory or improving your memory doesn't work in just one day. Yes, you can have improvements, but you won't have long-lasting improvements in one day, because the memory and the hippocampus in our brain is so complex that you need to constantly train it and be consistent with it in order to improve it. Now, many of us face a lot of memory slips. Like I said before, it was so easy for me to forget where my phone is, even though it's in my hand. And this could be due to a lot of things: stress, sleepiness, distraction. Maybe you're talking to someone. Maybe you're talking on your phone and you don't even realize that you're talking on your phone. It's happened to me before. I know it's happened to a lot of people. And it happens. It's just something that all of us face. So improving your memory will not only help you with your studies, but it will also help you in your day-to-day life, because if you can get all of these sorted, then you'll be able to know where everything is. There's a system that you can place in your head, once again, in your mind palace. I love that. I love having a mind palace. It really helps me to compartmentalize things. I have a brain for maths, I have a brain for physics, I have a brain for chemistry, I have a brain for speaking to people. There's a part of me that does certain things, basically. So because of this, obviously the first thing we're going to talk about is sleep. Why is sleep important, and how you can get better memory by sleeping well. When I first started to train my memory, one of the things that I kind of found difficult was remembering to train my memory when I get up in the morning. So by having consistent sleep at the same time every single day and waking up at the same time every single day, eventually my brain would just click. Like when I hear my alarm, I'd be like, all right, I have to train my memory now. It just takes like 5 seconds to do it, because all you have to do, and this is what I learned from the famous 5 survival guide, is that as soon as you wake up, look around your room and then choose 5 things that you want to remember throughout the day. And when you're trying to remember this, don't just remember it as like, oh, I saw a book on my desk. Don't do that. I want you to visualize it. Literally imagine your desk. I can see my desk in front of me. I can see a book. What's the color? What's the shape of it? Is it big? Is it small? Does it have a little flap like this? Like literally visualize the images on this book. You need to really, really, really see it as if it was there. And choose 5 things, and I want you to remember it throughout the day 5 times. So it doesn't matter what time it is. So in the morning you look at it, maybe during class you're kind of bored, so just try to visualize your room. During lunchtime, try to visualize your room. When you get home, don't go to your room, try to visualize it first, and repeat this every single day for a month. As I said before, it was very difficult for me to be consistent with this because I constantly forgot that I needed to do this. As soon as I woke up, I was like, oh my god, I gotta get ready. So I didn't remember to do this. But just try to keep consistent. Try to remind yourself all the time. And every single day, just try to remind yourself. Be like, oh yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Eventually, one day you actually will do it. And once you start, it doesn't mean you're gonna be consistent right away. But once you start, that's the first step. And then eventually you're going to get consistent. Eventually you'll train your photographic memory. Now, it only took me a month to do this. I think around like the 2nd week, I think I was able to remember me walking through the house. I could remember what I'm seeing to my left, to my right. I could remember it as if I was actually there walking. So yeah. And that was pretty cool. So improving your sleep quality can help you to improve your memory, because 1, your brain is more ready to do things, and secondly, you'll be able to have a routine. When you have a routine, it's easier for you to train yourself to do things. That's why discipline is so important. Next, let's talk about nutrition and memory. I used to take supplements like omega-3, eating antioxidants, so berries, things like that. That's very, very good for you and very good for your brain. These are what we call as brain foods. These brain foods supply your brain and your body with nutrients that they need in order to basically create pathways in your mind that would create these pathways for the hippocampus to distribute your memory. So without these antioxidants or these brain foods, you're gonna survive. However, some parts of your body will lack the things that it needs in order to boost the production of these like neurons and things like that and cells that you need. So incorporating brain foods can help you to basically boost your memory. And while there's no specific like, yes, that is very true, there's nothing like that in the research world, it definitely has been linked or correlated to boost memory and boost brain function. And that's the same with like mindfulness, meditation, things like that. It doesn't have a 100% chance of you building your memory or improving your memory from this, but there is a correlation there and it does help to boost it in some shape or form. For example, with meditating, it reduces your stress level. And when it reduces your stress level, it helps you to build more pathways in your mind and help you to build up your mind palace, like we said before. Now you know how to do photographic memory. As I said before, very controversial. Not a lot of people believe in photographic memory. So with your enhanced visual memory, there's other paths or other things that you can do in order to train your memory as well or improve your memory. For example, you can use mnemonic devices. Mnemonic devices means that you're gonna link certain words into acronyms that you can easily memorize. For example, the reactivity series, I call it, instead of saying potassium, lithium, sodium, it's quite long to say it one by one. I read out the symbols. So I say kanali chamagalzen. So that's the first bits of the reactivity series and that's how I memorize it. And I will literally say it again and again and again because it's so catchy to say kanali chamagalzen. And because of that, I will remember the reactivity series. You can do this with a bunch of things. For example, if we're looking at the kingdom, phylum, all those things, you can say King Philip came over for some good soup, things like that. You can do this with organic chemistry. You can do this with everything that you want. It works very, very well. Now, it works very well as well with visualization. For example, I work really well with visualizing diagrams, things like that. So if you're trying to learn like biology, make sure you visualize what the heart looks like. For example, use diagrams, print it out, label it, and then annotate around it. See what's like happening, what the adaptations are, what the functions are. And from there, you can memorize it by using your enhanced visual memory that we trained before already. If that doesn't work, learn how to draw it out and then train your muscle memory. Before I trained my photographic memory, I had muscle memory, which was basically where I would rewrite the entire thing over and over again. Yes, I would rewrite giant charts. I would rewrite giant mind maps. It doesn't matter how long it takes me. If it works, it works. With the organic flowchart, for example, it literally took me like 100 times to rewrite it over and over again. And with this, to this day, which is like 7 years after my exam, I still remember the organic chemistry flowchart. So what I want you to do is to grab a notebook. Doesn't matter what notebook, could be a notebook like this, for example. And in this notebook is where you're going to create your mind maps for every single topic that you struggle with. So for example, if you struggle with transition metals, then go into this notebook and create a mind map of everything that you know about these transition metals. Use your notes, use your textbook, summarize notes, whatever it is, create a mind map about it. Write transition metal over here and then create paths alongside it. What does this one mean? So like, what is transition metals? What examples of it? What is the definition? What calculations are there, if there are any? What colors each ions will have? What are ligands? Things like that. Create mind maps and then rewrite that mind map multiple times. If you want, you can draw it in a flashcard and use spatial repetitions or other things that you can use like active recall in order to memorize this. Now, some other study techniques that I really like that incorporates memory boosting is also the Feynman technique. I work really well with this Feynman technique. I actually really, really love it, which is where you say it out loud as if you're teaching somebody else, and it helps you to see if there's gaps in your information. If you know there are gaps in your information, then you can go back, fix your mind map, go over it again. You can also break things down into chunks, and that's why I love the flowchart technique instead of the mind map technique. By using a flowchart, you basically break it into chunks. If you have a giant explanation of something, break it down into steps. Step 1, you have blah 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 blah. For example, if you're purifying crystals, so if you're trying to get crystals from a soluble salt solution, then you can see exactly what's happening by breaking it down into steps and putting it into a flow chart. So you say step 1, you do this, and then from there you go into that, from there you go into that, then you have steps that you can easily memorize. So you just remember step 1 is blah blah blah, step 2 is blah blah blah. Again, if you struggle with memorizing this, rewrite it. I'm telling you, just rewrite it over and over again. It takes a lot of time in the beginning, but it will help you so much towards the end. Because to this day, I remember everything word by word, even the keywords, because I've trained my muscle memory. By training your muscle memory, your body will remember by itself. You don't need your brain to do it for you. Now, brain games. Brain games is probably one of the most confusing parts. A lot of people say that brain games actually help with boosting your memory, but in reality it just helps you to get kind of like, what's the word for it? It helps you to kind of know or get used to how to answer that game, how to play that game. It just helps you to boost your memory for that game only. It doesn't help you to boost your memory in general, unfortunately. However, apparently with like playing video games and things like that, it helps a lot in preventing Alzheimer's and slowing down the process of dementia in elderly people. So if you play a lot of video games, good for you. But yeah, hopefully those memory boosting techniques help. I really would like to see it help you, because it has helped me a lot. I barely ever study for my exams, and I do chemical engineering, like I say, because I can literally visualize the equation in my mind. Like I can see it happening, like I can see it written in my mind. I can still see it to this day, and it's been like 4 years since I started uni, so I can still see the equations in my mind, and because of that I don't need to worry about it. I can just calculate as I like because I remember the formulas. Oh, and one thing as well, another tip for you guys: once you write it out, like I said before, train your muscle memory, train your photographic memory. As soon as you get your exam paper, go to the very back page where the blank sheet is there, or ask for another sheet of paper, and you should write it down. Write down the entire thing, write down like all the stuff that you memorized, the organic chemistry flowchart, any flowchart you've made, any mind maps that you constantly forget. Write it out, and then you don't need to like think about it anymore. You just go to the back page and you're done. But yeah, aside from that, thank you very much for listening to me, and thank you very much for coming to my channel again, and hopefully this helps you. I'll see you all next week. Bye!